Hello Wadsters, welcome to another episode of the Cube Vlog. It's the third episode. My name is Aaron, and today I want to talk about building a cube. Now I want to talk about this because, well, this is the Cube Vlog, but also I feel like a lot of people are interested in building cubes, and maybe this might help them. I know that if I saw this online, I'd be pretty happy to oblige and look at the video. So these are some first couple steps that you could take to building a cube, and I built a million of them, so here are some resources that I've found. So what is a cube? I put together this little definition: a collection and or set of cards from which you can draft, sealed, or construct decks. So you could draft your buddies with this, you could do sealed, or you can actually construct archetypes. I opened up the Power Popper with my brother, and we just decided to do like a kind of a mini constructed thing where we picked archetypes and we just built the best cards of those archetypes. I built the best decks of those archetypes and just battled them off. So it's usually a singleton format. That doesn't mean it has to be, but here are some exceptions if you are interested in making it non-singleton. Squadron Hawk. I know people, some people that I've heard of people including Squadron Hawk in their cube, and then when you draft a Squadron Hawk, you actually draft 4. So it's like a package. You draft a package. Nissa Ravane, also the same thing. When you draft Nissa, you have a certain amount of Nissas chosen that are automatically added to your pool of cards. So how do you make a cube? Here are some questions that I've always asked myself, I guess, but I never really asked them, but I knew the answers to the questions. Why do you want to make a cube? And that's going to come from, for whom? Like, what's your play group? How big is your play group? And what kind of themes do they like playing? So, for example, is your play group like filled with like Timmy players, or are they very Johnny-centric, or are they competitive, or do they love, the Vorthos side of Magic? Those are kind of things that every single playgroup is different, So you could also just make the cube for yourself, but, it's better to play with a playgroup, right? Also, depending on who it's for, what kind of cards you can include. So there are the gold cards and the silver, gold and silver bordered cards. The unhinged cards, unhinged and unglued, are the silver ones, as well as the holiday ones, I think. And the gold ones are from the World Championship deck stuff. So I include whatever I can get my hands on. What size cube should I build? So these are just some rough estimates. There's no rules, but assuming that you're playing with standard quantities for drafting, for example, 3 packs of 15 or 14, these are kind of the numbers that I came up with. So 2 to 4 players, with 2 players you need 90 cards, but the thing is, that's going to be a rough cube to build. I'm just telling you that. So if I were you, I'd maybe build a minimum 180. Even that's going to be rough. Like, you could hardly add any cards to it before running out of space. So the 4 to 8 player range is 360 cards. That could fill a pod exactly of 8. So if you're expecting more, you got to go up to the next rung. 8 to 12 players, 540. And 12 to 16 players is 720. So I have the Rambros cube, which is 720 cards because I wanted to fit 2 pods of 8. The Vintage Power cube is 540, so it could fit 2 pods of 6, or 1 pod of 8, or 10, or 12, and then so on and so forth. Yeah, that's an important little point. If you want more variation in your cube, you add more cards. So, for example, the 4 to 8 players, let's assume you have 8 players coming to your place for a draft. and you have a cube. Well, 360 cards is going to be exactly the amount of cards that the whole, like all those cards are going to be used to draft. But if you want a higher variation, you could use a cube that has 540 cards, 720 cards, 1,000 cards, whatever. The more cards you add, the more spread out, thinned out the archetypes are. So yeah, if you have concise archetypes that you really want to build, you have to go with the minimum, because there might be key cards that you have to get drafted. You know what I mean? So how do you aggregate the cards? So you all know this from your existing collection. That's the best way. If you could build a cube from stuff that you already have, that's probably the most rewarding, I think. You could buy the cards, obviously. Trading, there's F&M events and Puka Trade. You guys know I use Puka Trade, and I gotta make another video on Puka Trade because I feel like there's a lot of stuff going on in the YouTube community. There's a lot of negativity towards Puka Trade, and whether it's justified or not, I feel like people who don't use Puka Trade have no idea what's going on, and they assume automatically it's a bad thing. And well, maybe it is, but I think I'm gonna make a video on what's going on, because I've received such, I've just received tons of trades in the mail. I just received an Oracle of Moldaya. Last week I got a Cryptic Command and True Name Nemesis and something else. Sword of Body Mind. I got a Tooth and Nail the week before. Emrakul and Ulamog. I don't know. I don't know. It seems like things are going well, but that's probably for another video. Proxy and fill in as you acquire cards. So that's what I did with the Vintage Power Cube. Is I made the whole cube proxied, and then I took out cards that I had and that I acquired, and I replaced them. So I have, like, right now I have 40% proxies, I think, in the Vintage Cube, which is pretty cool. Create and proxy your own creations. So you can go and use Magic Set Editor. Just type it in Google, and it's a free application, a free program, sorry. And you just make your cards from templates, and that's it. You can make your own thing. That's probably one of the most rewarding experiences if you have all that time. I know I know a couple of people who have made their own Magic sets. Yeah. Or you could just print a cube. There are some cubes that are, like I did. I printed the Vintage Proxy Cube, but you can also print cubes that are made by the people. So there's the Booze Cube as an example, and it's a drinking card. It's like a drinking game for Magic. So you're playing Magic, but you're also, I don't know how it works. If every couple of damage you take, you have to drink or something like that. I don't know. That might be cool. So costs, and this is just the accessories surrounding the cube. So these are not the actual cards, because that's going to vary widely depending on what you choose to make. So boxes and storage, you might have a box at home, but if you don't, the white boxes, these white boxes, these classic ones, they're about $2 Canadian, so they're probably cheaper American. And you get, the custom made wood, ebony, whatever, for $200+ somewhere. Plastics. So plastic sleeves, you could buy penny sleeves, but I wouldn't recommend it. And I would suggest dragon sleeves or KMCs. Now I have dragon sleeves here. They're pretty scratched up now. It's been about a year I've had this. Have had these sleeves on, maybe more than a year. I can't remember. Anyways, there's those, and then there's the KMC hypermats I have. I hope I can show you the texture on this thing. Anyways, they're really awesome. These are the best. I have these double sleeved, so I have them in a plastic and a plastic. The double sleeve I use is Max Protection. I know they're not the best, but they're only $2 for 100, and the other ones are like $5, the next level. So I just got these. I double sleeved my whole Vintage Cube. So what are you gonna do? So yeah, I'd recommend the Dragon Sleeves or the KMCs. I recommend not going for Ultra Pros. They're really they're better than like I don't know penny sleeves. Don't go with penny sleeves. I heard that Legion are okay, but they also scratch easy. I've used them before and I don't like them. So I would say just KMCs. They are pretty expensive. If you could find a deal on them, I'd highly suggest it. It's worth it. And even if they get used, they still stand up. They don't get they don't split very easily. Although I did have someone in our playgroup that was just able to like rip one of these in half somehow while shuffling. But other than that one incident with that guy, they've been pretty good. Dragon Sleeves have not split yet, but they've got all grimy. So I think there's pluses and positives and negatives to both sleeves, but these two are the ones that held it the most, and I always buy KMCs now, all the time. Yeah, so that's what I was saying. If you have valuable cards, you might as well double sleeve it. The reason why you double sleeve is because you don't want the dust to get into them, and if you spill a beer or a drink or something like that, it'll protect it enough so that I don't know. I'm not gonna say that you could just like drop your cards in water, but if there's a spill or something, you're probably safe enough. It's probably it'll probably save your card. So you'll have a minute to like pick up your cards and like take them out of the plastics and wipe them off. And I'm sure they'll be fine. Anyways, so some cube resources that I've found over the years. These are some names. Tom Lapilli. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't even. Before this year, I didn't hear about Tom Lapilli, and he's with Wizards too. So I just know he's a big name now, and he's always been a big name. Sorry, but now I know of him. So I've checked out some articles, and he has some articles online, so you could read it if you want. He's like kind of the forefather of Cube, even though Cube was built in Canada. I'm just gonna say that it was originally created in Canada. All right, we have Usman Jamil. He has tons of articles. I'm going to show you some of the resources that he is the creator, of which he is the creator. Yeah. Adam Staborski, I've talked about him before already. I've only done 3 episodes, and I've probably talked about him 4 times because I've made the Pauper Cube based on his cube. So if I highly recommend it. It's very cheap, and it's probably the best way to get into Cube because it kind of gives you a template for making Cube. All right, here are some sites that I would suggest. Cube Tutor. I use Cube Tutor. I showed you guys already. Cube Tutor. My cubes are on there, and I can't do my cubes without. I can't organize my cubes without it. So it's free to use, and it has some awesome stuff on it. And there's it offers analytics and stuff like that. So if you get your cube drafted, you could see how many times a certain card was passed or drafted, first pick or whatever. So it's really cool. I'd rather be cubing.wordpress.com. That's Usman Jamil again. That's his personal site. But I don't read literature online much. So I read one of his articles or 2. He's pretty good. So I would suggest reading it if you're into reading online. GatheringMagic.com. Usman again is there. He does a little bit more of a professional column there. I'd rather be cubing is his personal column, personal blog, I guess. And Staborski's also there, so you could see his updates every single set. And obviously MTG Salvation, Reddit, whatever. All those resources, they're great because they have tons of like random ass people commenting on what you should and shouldn't be doing in Cube. And I do often go there for new sets. If I see a card, I'm like, well, I wonder if that card is good or not. And then often people will have an opinion on it. So, YouTube channels. Milo the Gathering is probably one of my favorite for watching commentary on games because he organizes a lot of Cube games and tournaments, and he commentates them. And it's really good. It's actually better than Wizards of the Coast, somehow. So yeah, so this independent guy in Toronto has a bunch of cubes. He has a bunch of friends. He's really dedicated, really passionate by cube, and he gets cubes done. So I would go and check him out on YouTube right now and subscribe to him. Tolarian Community College, everyone knows the professor. He has a series on cube. It's a 3-part series, and I watched it and I thought it was pretty interesting. Some of the stuff that I'm saying here, it's kind of on the same. Well, it's about cube, obviously. So there's some things that correlate. So podcasts. This is my bread and butter. I listen to podcasts all the time. I listen to probably on average 2 or 3 hours of podcasts a week. So the Magic Box is something I've been listening to for a while. I just heard about them actually, I think 4 months ago. So I've listened to them for about 4 months. But they only come out with a podcast once every 3 months. So I went back in their archives and I listened to a bunch of stuff, and I think they are probably the best for Cube podcasts, but they don't publish a lot, so it kind of sucks. And that's with Tristan Sean Gregson and Kyle Eck. So yeah, they're just awesome. Like honestly, they're like, for entertainment value, for information on Cube, for knowledge, like these guys are great. Like just awesome. The Third Power. This is Usman again. I swear I'm not being funded by Usman. And him and what's the other guy's name? Anthony Alvatolo or something like that. That's their podcast, and they make podcasts regularly, once a week, I think. I like that podcast a little less because they're very opinionated, rather than they're much more subjective than objective. This is about some things. But I mean, Usman is like, one of the biggest names in Cube, so I can't say anything against that, And it's pretty interesting too. The Joy of Cubing is something I've just started listening to, and they kind of have a kind of edge like the Third Power, where it's very subjective. I mean, Cube is what is Cube, but just like a subjective set created by the Cube creator, right? Come on. So I understand how some of this stuff can come off as kind of like, oh well. For example, here I added what is it called again? Anguished Unmaking from Shadows of Innistrad into the Vintage Power Cube, and I took out Vindicate. Right there's a discussion. We could have a discussion for an hour about why that's right or wrong to do. So my main reason for that was price. I think Vindicate's like $40 now or something like that. So I pulled the Anguished Unmaking at the pre-release, so I just pop it in there. It's an instant instead of a sorcery. It doesn't hit lands, but it exiles instead. So whatever. There you go. So these are the podcasts. I don't think I have any other ones. No. Okay, so these are, I would highly suggest Magic Box. The Third Power is really good, and Joy of Cubing if you're like going off on a limb and you really want to listen to all the podcasts you can for Cube. Suggestions for a first Cube. So I would suggest the Adam Savorsky ones. I already told you guys that. For me, I think I paid between 100 and 150 with Ultra Pro plastic, so I just told you not to do. But if you want to just try and you're not sure, I would suggest not getting penny sleeves and getting Ultra Pros at least. So a lot of these cards you could pick up for cheap or trade for like almost nothing. It's just that I wanted to get it right away. I think I decided to make the cube, and then like a week later I had the cube ready. So I'm kind of like that. I'm kind of extreme. I have no patience. So Milo's new cube. That was one of the cubes I wanted to do recently. It was a toss up between Milo's Noob Cube and the Vintage Power Cube, and then I realized that I had a bunch of cards sitting around that would be sitting around for ages and not being used. And then I started using Puka Trade again, so I just traded away like most of my valuable cards for just like cards to go in the cube. So Milo's Noob Cube is really cool. It has a limit. Pardon me. Oh my gosh. It has a limit of $5 per card maximum. And a lot of the cards he just got out of his collection. So I'm sure if you've been playing for a couple of years, you have a lot of the cards on his list. All these resources, I'm going to try to get links for them in the description below. If not, you could just Google them. They're so, they're just Google whatever it is the title is, and you'll find it. So stop being lazy. All right, proxy a cube that you like. So I proxied the vintage cube. I keep on naming the vintage cube, but it cost me about $30-something on the, what was it called? The photo finish paper, but it was like a thin photo finish. I don't know if I overpaid or not, but anyways, I wanted it done. I got it done right away. So $40 right there, and then the plastics, like I said, you decide the plastics you want. So that's a good start also. You know, if you don't want to spend money on Magic and you're like, fuck Magic, I want to play it but I don't want to buy it. Well, there's an option right there. And it's the same fun you'll have with a regular cube, so. So, last tips. Just do it. That's it. Goodbye. I'm just joking. If you're going to make a cube from scratch, a good tip is to put down boundaries and restrictions. Right. So what did the guy say? What's the famous quote? Restriction breeds creation, or something like that. And that's super true. You put a restriction on your cube, and then you're gonna be forced to find out how to fill it out, right? So, for example, the Rambrose cube is it was based on cycles originally. And multicolored. So, well, actually, it was based on cycles. So I put a bunch of the cycles together, and I realized that a lot of cycles are multicolored. So then it became a multicolored cube. But now that I have to have multicolored, I kind of have to like balance the power level. There's a lot of multicolored cards I'll never include that are like just way too powerful, and there are a lot of multicolored cards that are really bad. So within that, I had to find cards that would fit. The Power Popper cube, you're limited by the rarity, so you have to have only common cards, you know. So another idea is having a tribal cube, like, you know, make every color have a tribe, kind of like Lorwyn, or Morph cube. One of my buddies in our play group did a Morph cube, and it was really cool. Only old cards, I have that. That's the nostalgia cube. We just drafted it, which of course I have the video footage of. I'm not sure if I'm gonna put it up, but I'm gonna see. Might be interesting. And with the restriction, the cube will be more concise and more fun to build. That's it. Yeah. So I hope you guys this was interesting, or this did something for you. I hope, I think, yeah, I didn't make many changes from the vintage cube. Like I said, I made this one change, the Anguished Unmaking for Vindicate. I'm still filling out the cube, slowly. Like I said, I got some cards last week, I got some cards the week before. My collection is slowing down a bit, because like I traded a lot of, I think my first week of Puka Trade, I sent out like $200 worth of cards. The week later it was probably like 100, and then it just dwindled after that. Now it's about $20 a week, and even then now I'm like thinking about just holding off, because I'm gonna slowly build the collection, the cube as is, over time. I don't need to rush it, and that's it. So I hope you guys, I hope this gets you making a cube, or if you're about to make a cube, it helps you in the making of it. And that's it. I hope to see you guys later, and have a good day.